23 days later, the game that started on July 5th concludes on July 28th between the Orleans Firebirds and the Chatham Anglers from Veterans Field. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Birds Broadcast Network. Ian Nicholas, Dylan Pescatore on the call, the third member of our crew, Sammy Miller. You'll hear from her in just a few minutes. Dylan, this is something Orleans has not seen this season. It's something that you and I have probably never seen. We're going to start this game at 4:30, tied at 5 in the bottom of the fourth inning. Runners on first and third for Chatham with 2 out. What a situation to jump right into. Off and off day 2. Why not?
Yeah, why not? Like you said, it was the fog that had this game suspended at the time, and now on a gorgeous day like today is on Friday. I mean, you pick it up. It's something you never played for. It's something you never done before. But that's all about it, right? Some things don't go your way. Some things happen because they've never happened before. This is just another example of that. And thankfully, it doesn't affect the Firebirds too much, but it does affect the Anglers a little bit.
It does. It's been a tough season for Chatham, 10-25-2 overall. 5 straight losses for the A's, which is its longest losing streak of the year. Meanwhile, the Firebirds, Dylan, on the heels of 2 dominant wins, the latest on Wednesday from Gov Fuller Field against the Falmouth Commodores, where Orleans tied its season high in runs with 13.
They had 13 runs, like you said, and it was complete dominance. Ever since the 5th inning where Eddie Micheletti had a 2 RBI double, it was all Firebirds on offense. They were hitting the ball hard all times throughout the game. The ball just weren't dropping in the first 4 innings. In the later 5, 6, 7, and 8, they were, and runs were scored. The Firebirds really took dominance on offense, which they have done in the past few games.
11 of the 13 runs Orleans scored in between the 6th and 8th innings in a big win, 13-3 at Falmouth on Wednesday. But like we said just a few moments ago in a scorching start, yesterday was an off day for Orleans, a well-rested group trying to pick up win number 20 on the summer. And Sammy Miller tells us how this group is feeling. Thanks, Sammy. It's the group that feels really good right now. A Firebirds team that clinched a playoff spot yesterday during its day off. That's a good reason why this team feels so positive, feels so up and up. Kind of an odd way to clinch a playoff spot, Dylan, on your day off. Chatham losing to Katuitt, and that's how the Birds clinched. But over this final week, Orleans a great opportunity to not only keep its stronghold of second in the East Division, but potentially with a strong finish, still touch YD for first.
They're only 5 points back of the Red Sox, and they have a game in hand as well. So 2.5 back with a game in hand. You don't rule out seed number 1 at all, which would be huge for Orleans in terms of hosting games 1 and number 3 of a playoff series, which are best of 3. So you definitely want that first place title. But when we're talking about clinching the playoffs and maybe a day off, you don't win and clinch. It is what it is. This team and this group has said repeatedly they have bigger goals than just clinching the playoffs.
They have bigger goals than just clinching the playoffs. A team trying to get back not only to the playoffs for the second year in a row, but to get over the hump and get past the first round of the East Division. But right now it's still Orleans in Chatham. Again, a game that's going to be resumed in the bottom of a 4th inning, tied at 5. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. It's a very different Chatham team than it was earlier in the month. In fact, the batter is going to be Brennan Holt, the center fielder, batting 3rd in the order tonight for Chatham. He was not the batter the first time around. Meanwhile, Orleans, they sent a lot of batters up to the plate in that first game against Falmouth on Wednesday, Dylan, and they really all had success. Not only 1 through 9, but even somebody coming off the bench and making an impact.
Yeah, 10 different players with a hit, including Jake Casey, who had a 2 RBI single. Ian, you caught up with him before the game, so let's go to you and Mr. Casey.
Back on the scorching start here, a beautiful day from Veterans Field. The last time Jake Casey was out here, though, on July 5th, a little foggy, but clear this time around.
Yeah, right. It was definitely an interesting night, having the fog roll in and playing those 2 or 3 outs where I couldn't see anything in right field, and then they ended up calling the game, which is kind of good because no one could see. So we're back.
You ever experienced anything like that before?
No, I think it's pretty special. Because it's not special, but it's pretty cool because nowhere else in the country is there ever a fog out besides here.
What's the mentality just going into a game tied at 5 in the bottom of the 4th inning? Do you even think about that, or you just think even game we're playing 5 innings?
I think even game we're playing 5 innings. Just go out and do our thing. No one's really thinking about the 5th inning. Everyone's just going to go try to have good at bats and win the game.
So usually everybody's thing is baseball around here. Yesterday, off day, it was golf. What was this golf open like with this team?
Yeah, it was a Firebird Open at I don't know what the golf course was called, mini golf course, but we got the guys together and played in teams of 4. It was a lot of fun, and my team, me, Eddie Micheletti, Maurice, and Justin Rubin took the win.
Who was carrying your team? And don't be humble. Was it you?
It's not me. I was. I didn't shoot bad, but Rubin and Mo shot 39s apiece, so they got us to the end in the win.
And what was it? Grayson Carter had the lowest.
Grayson Carter had 38, and they had 39. So they were in second place in singles, which is good. Both guys did. So
okay.
That was good.
Let's hope he translated it today on the mound. So you, last night off the bench, rather 2 nights ago against Falmouth, came off the bench, drove in a couple runs in a crazy 8th inning. Mm-hmm. How big is that 6-run inning for this group? The offense has looked real good the last 2 games.
I think just passing to the next guy. No one's feels any pressure. Everyone just goes in there, does their thing. Hitting's contagious, I think, and if one guy gets it going, it feels like it starts rolling like a little snowball effect. So if we can get that going tonight, it'd be pretty cool.
Here on the scorching start with Jay Casey from Kent State. Final week of the regular season. Has it hit you that it's winding down?
Yeah. I mean, all the guys here say days go by slow, weeks go by fast, and, man, it's gone by pretty fast. So just try to embrace every single day from here on out and have fun.
How does it feel for you guys clinch the playoffs, even on an off day?
Feels good. I mean, it always feels good to clinch a playoff spot and just know that you're safe in there no matter what happens.
And this is such a tight group of position players. Does it think it helps you, especially in a game like this where, you look at Chatham, they've had a lot of movement, but you guys, outside of Brandon Stallman at first, same lineup as last game. How is this group gelled?
Oh man, we're all super close, and we all have a lot of fun. I think that's the biggest thing is just everyone, has fun. Everyone knows each other as guys and as friends versus just teammates, and I think that's big. Especially like yesterday, going to play mini golf off the field was big. That's just for the team chemistry, and I think that it's just been really, really fun being around these guys.
What's the goal today? How do you have fun against a Chatham team that has been good? 3 good games against this Chatham team. How do you continue to have fun on the field?
I think we just keep doing our thing, carry what we had in Falmouth over to here, and hopefully, good results show.
Hopefully they show for a team that has clinched the playoffs for the 2nd year in a row. Jake Casey, thanks so much for joining us on a scorching start.
Thank you.
Back here on the Birds Broadcast Network, that was Jake Casey, who had a 2 RBI single in a 13-3 win for the Firebirds. About 5 minutes before first pitch, right here at Veterans Field.
And we're going to do the national anthem for the 2nd time in this game. The game started on July 5th, and now on July 28th, it's resumed in the bottom of the 4th inning. But before that, before we get back to a game tied at 5, we'll take a quick break for the national anthem. This has been the Scorching Start on the Birds Broadcast Network. Stay tuned in just a few for first pitch. Let the game resume. It's a beautiful afternoon from Veterans Field in Chatham, 82 degrees and sunny, not foggy like it was and barely visible for the players in July 5th's fog out. It's tied at 5, bottom of the 4th inning. Orleans with 5 hits, all 5 of its runs posted in the 3rd inning off 2 home runs from Jack Penny and Eddie King Jr. For Chatham, they scored their first 2 runs in the 1st inning off Evan Truitt and scored 3 runs in the 4th inning, all of them earned against Connor Eaton. And here we are, 5-5, bottom of the 4th. The lineup, Dylan, stays almost identical for Orleans. Even the pitcher, the same, outside of one substitution.
Yes, the only substitution is that Johnny Olmstead, who this was before the draft. He got drafted in the 19th round to the Miami Marlins. He will not be joining us today. He has bigger and better things to do. So Brandon Stallman will be taking over at first base, batting second in place of Johnny Olmstead.
Not only is he replacing him at first base, also replacing him in the jersey number slot. Barely anything changes. Johnny Olmstead wore number 8 with Orleans, and so does UNC Charlotte's Brandon Stallman. Grayson Carter is getting, I guess, what you could call the start, but in reality, when you see this game and you see the box score, Carter is going to be coming out of a bullpen for Evan Truitt, who started this game. Carter is trying to work out of a jam, 1st and 3rd with 2 out. 3 balls and 2 strikes in the count, too, to Brennan Holt, the center fielder, who is one of 6 new players in this lineup for Chatham. Owen Carpellotti is going to be behind the dish, Brandon Stallman at first, Joe Oyama at second, Jack Penny at third, Drew Farrow at short, Eddie Micheletti in left, Eddie King in center, and Jake Casey in right. You know, Dylan, I talked to Jake before the game. He said you kind of have to just treat it like it's a even 5-5 game with 5 innings of baseball to play.
It's almost like a 5-inning game that you start with 0-0. You got to just flush out whatever happened. The Firebirds had a lead at one point. Now they don't. It's a tie game, and they're in danger of giving up the lead. Now, going into each mindset, the pitcher, Grayson Carter, he has to pitch with a full count, 2 outs, runners on the corners. I think this situation actually is worse for the batter, which is Brennan Holt, like you said. He hasn't played in this game. He did not play back on July 5th. He has to bat with a full count, 2 outs, 1 fastball for a strike from Grayson Carter, and his at-bat could be over.
It could be. Grayson Carter's been very good at ending at-bats this summer. It's his 8th appearance and his 6th out of a bullpen. In 9 2/3 innings pitched, the rising junior from Vanderbilt hasn't given up an earned run. 12 strikeouts, 8 walks, 3 hits against him. He last pitched, funny enough, against Chatham a week ago in another doubleheader from Eldridge Park. He started Game 2 of a doubleheader, a 4-3 win for Orleans, and pitched 3 1/3 scoreless with 6 strikeouts and 4 walks. So again, leading off for Chatham, it's Red Shirt Friday here on a Friday afternoon from Veterans Field, is Brennan Holt, the left-handed center fielder who began his collegiate career at Oklahoma State, now transferring to South Alabama. The runners are Hudson White at third, who was in the game way back on July 5th. He's going to be doing the catching. And on first, it's a player who is not here, in Zach McDonald. So McDonald trots to first. Over to third is Hudson White. Rather, he's at second. It was a long time ago, over 3 weeks ago. Memory a little hazy, unlike the weather, this go-around. Runners on first and second. 2 out, 3 balls, 2 strikes. Let's finish this game. Tied at 5, bottom of the 4th inning. Grayson Carter against a completely different batter and Brennan Holt. Carter's payoff. In for strike 3 looking. Carter works out of a jam that was created by a completely different pitcher over 3 weeks ago. And that's how the 4th inning finally ends on a clear afternoon from Veterans Field. A new batter, a good result. Carter needed to throw 1 pitch for a strike in jubilation as they head back to the dugout. We go to the top of the 5th, and Dylan is going to take over on the mic. He's been waiting to call the final 5 innings of this game for 23 days, and you know he's going to love it.
You know it, Ian. Let's head to break. One pitch down, inning over. Let's go to the fifth of a tie game, 5-5 between Orleans and Chatham. We've talked about new players, new pitchers. Chatham has a new pitcher on the mound, but not someone who's new to the Firebirds. Max Yale out of West Virginia, the rising junior, is going to be on the mound for Chatham as this game is resumed against the Firebirds, which a duo for the Birds is Brandon Stallman, Jack Penny, and Matt Holbach. The rest of the lineup includes, from the top, Joe Oyama, Stallman, Penny, Holbach, Micheletti, King, Carpellotti, Fro, and Casey. Thankful for the Firebirds, only one change, that is Stallman, the left-handed hitter out of UNC Charlotte. He'll face Max Yale, the lefty, 6'6", 225 out of West Virginia, and he last pitched against the Firebirds.
It's funny because Grayson Carter was the pitcher on the mound when this game was frozen in the bottom of the fourth inning, and he finished what he originally was set out to do, get out of a jam. Max Yale was not the pitcher on the mound. In fact, it was Xander Zekrist, if I'm not mistaken, who is starting in Game 2 of this doubleheader, which is just insane, and it's going to look weird on the box score. But as you mentioned, Yale pitched a great game last Friday at Orleans and ended in a loss for Chatham, but 3 1/3 of one-run ball, worked through a lot of traffic, giving up 6 hits, but only allowing 1 earned.
And also no walks. That was important for Yale in that outing. Eventually a 4-3 loss to the Firebirds on a walk-off sac fly by Owen Carpellotti. Stallman steps into the box, the lefty hitter who's been really good for these Firebirds. Hits in 6 of his 8 starts for the Birds. Also his first start at first base this summer. Yale kicks and delivers a strike on the outside corner to Stallman.
If anybody cared what Johnny Olmstead did in this ball game before he was substituted a few weeks later by Stallman, he went 1 for 2, singled in the 3rd inning.
Stallman, along with the 9 other hitters, as he fouls back the 0-1. Had a big game against Falmouth 2 days ago, a 13-3 win for Orleans. 1 for 4 day, including 2 runs and 2 walks. Just a gorgeous day here from Chatham. Not a cloud in the sky as we get started early. The 0-2 is outside with the slider. The Firebirds are wearing their red undershirts and white vests along with the white pants and red writing along their chest on their uniforms. That read Firebirds underlined in red as well. Yale's 1-2 is lined into right field and down for a base hit. Gathered up by Wolfert in right field. Stallman leads off the 5th with a single.
That's what Brandon Stallman's done all summer since joining the Firebirds. Nothing fancy, but just dropping it in gaps, dropping it in holes, finding the sweet spots on the field. His swing has been really good ever since the start of the summer. There was no adjustment period for him. Ever since his second game with the team where he had 3 hits, he has been great.
The next batter is Jack Penny, the lefty out of Notre Dame. Stallman on first against the lefty Yale. The first pitch to Penny is fouled into the first base dugout, which is the Firebirds dugout here from Veterans Field. The Anglers dugout on the third base side. A breeze going from left to right. Yale checks over on Stallman, who dives back safely. We'll give you the defensive alignment for Chatham, which has changed a lot since the July 5th pause suspended game. McDonald in left, Holt in center, and Wolford in right. Kent at first, he was there originally. Martin Grunzalanek at second. Fabian at short, he was there originally. Forsythe at third, and White doing the catching. Penny fouls back the 0-1, 0-2.
It's going to be weird for Chatham. I know 5 innings isn't a ton to play, but they only have 1 available player on their bench. It's a team that's been a bit depleted as the summer is going on, but also a couple players on the roster who played in the game against Orleans 3 weeks ago who aren't in the lineup right now.
Another check over on Stallman. Ian, you're referring to Kyson Donahue, who was originally in the lineup back on July 5th. He was taken out in that game back on that date by Chris Maldonado, so even though he's still on the active roster, Donahue, he's not available to be used. 0-2 to Penny from Yale is pop foul, third base side out of play.
Well, also Nolan Schubert was in the lineup that game originally and played yesterday in Chatham's 12-6 loss to Katuitt, but not in the lineup today, at least in Game 1. He can play in Game 2, but because he's already played in this game, he cannot re-enter.
An interesting decision by new interim manager Todd Shelton, the third man to be behind the helm for Chatham this summer. 0-2 again to Penny. Did he go? Yes, he did. A strikeout on the slider in the dirt for out number 1.
A great pitch, a breaking ball that Penny just couldn't hold up on with the check swing. And also picking up where he left off from a week ago on the mound is Yale, trying to shut down the Firebirds once again after allowing that leadoff single to Stallman.
Up comes Matt Hallback, who's walked and singled in this game. Stallman off first pitch, Hallback line drive into left, but right at the left fielder McDonald, who makes the catch in deep left. A hard hit ball by Hallback goes for naught. It's a line drive to left for out number 2.
Matt Hallback has had such a steady summer for Orleans. Even when he doesn't reach, he finds ways to either put the ball in play or battle in his at-bats. It's tough to hit a ballpark out of here. Hit a ball out of his ballpark.
2 outs, man on first is Stallman after a leadoff single. And up comes Eddie Micheletti Jr. 1 for 2 on the day. First pitch from Yale is popped up behind second into shallow right. Camping under it is Wolfert, and he'll make the catch. A leadoff single for the Firebirds isn't brought around to score. 1 runner left on 1 hit as we go to the bottom of the 5th. Tie game, 5-5 here on the Birds Broadcast Network. Back here on the Birds Broadcast Network, 5-5 still the score as we go to the bottom of the 5th. Grayson Carter back to the mound after 1 pitch in the 4th, well, at least today. He came in earlier in the 4th and allowed a sac fly and then struck out Holt, which an at-bat that started on the 5th and finished today on the 28th. Oh, we make it through there. The game continues, bottom of the 5th, and here's Gavin Mez, the left-handed DH, against the right-handed Carter. First pitch fastball in for a strike at 95 miles per hour.
Mez, another new addition to this team in terms of the lineup difference from July 5th.
0-1, right back to Carter on 1 hop. He'll jog over and toss the first for the first out.
Grayson Carter still looks like Grayson Carter. Clocking in the mid-90s, 95, 96 with that fastball here from Veterans Field, which is what he is known for. He owns the fastest pitch velocity of any pitcher on Cape Cod this summer, which would make you think he's got one of the deadliest arms in the country.
Tyler Wolfert, the right-handed batter, Takes the first pitch ball inside with the fastball at 97 from Carter to start off his at-bat. Wolfert, out of Oklahoma State, just finished up his first season there. A chopper to short, or second base. Oyama tosses to first for the second out of the inning.
You mentioned the name of another Cowboy. One thing that's been a theme this season, regardless of who's leading Chatham, are Oklahoma State players. And that's because Tom Holliday, who began the season as the manager, Marty Lees, who spent about 2 weeks as the acting manager, and now Todd Shelton, the interim manager, all have ties to Oklahoma State, and that's where a lot of their top players choose to play.
4 pitches to get 2 outs for Grayson Carter, and fires a first pitch strike to Caden Kent. Out of Texas A&M, a rising sophomore. Here in Chatham, he's been one of their best players, hitting .317, and also was named to the Cape Cod Baseball League All-Star Game. 0-1 is low for a ball.
Had a hit in each of the games that were played at Orleans last Friday, in a doubleheader where it was hard to come by offense for both teams. Both teams struggled a little bit defensively, and runs came across the board, and what ended up being a split.
1-1 the count with 2 outs and nobody on. 5-5 the score in the bottom of the 5th. The pitch is outside with the fastball. Kent has not only gotten on base, not only gotten hits, but has slugged really well. A home run, 2 doubles, and a triple here in Chatham. 2 ones outside, 3-1.
And Chatham could use a little more of that as the season winds down. An offense that has struggled to score runs, period. Last in the league in runs scored. Middle of the pack in terms of home runs hit.
The lefty out of Texas, the 3-1 is a ground ball up the middle, grabbed by Furrow at short. Throw to first is in time to get him. A 1-2-3 inning by Grayson Carter in the 5th brings us to the 6th, still tied at 5.
Welcome back to the Birds Broadcast Network. I'm Sammy Miller. The score is currently 5-5, heading to the top of the 6th. Now, of course, the starting lineup for today's game is essentially the same as it was, but now Brandon Stallman is coming in at first base instead of Johnny Olmstead. Now, the position players have somewhat remained the same throughout the season, which is not all too common on the Cape. This means that when someone new comes in, it could be a little intimidating and hard to get your bearings. But that just wasn't the case for Brandon. He came in and made an immediate impact with his ability to get on base as well as solid defense in the infield. On top of that, he's the ultimate team player, and the guys just love him. He's always there supporting his teammates, doing everything he can to help the Birds find success, which has shown to be working. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Sammy. Talking about success, the Firebirds on a 2-game win streak, and talking about Brandon Stallman, not only has he been good on the field, Ian, but he's also been good eating.
Well, you could provide a little bit of context there. He's a very fit guy. So I'm not going to question his dietary habits, but you're right.
Eddie King to the plate. First pitch from Yale is fouled away. I was referencing, of course, the Snacking with Sammy episode that will be coming out soon.
It came out already, actually.
Came
Dylan.
out already.
Fresh off the presses.
Go check it out on the YouTube channel. Brandon Stallman eats a Oreo Dream Bar. Is that the correct term?
It is.
0-1 to King from Max Yale. Is a line drive into right field and down for a base hit. Back-to-back leadoff singles for Orleans in the 5th and now in the 6th. Eddie King collects his second hit of the night.
Eddie King has been dreaming of this offensive production all summer long. Over the last 4 days, he has been the best Firebird from the plate. You cannot argue it. 3 hits in 2 of his last 3 games headed into tonight. He's shown the power. He's shown the speed. He's shown now batting for average. Eddie King is getting hot at just the right time.
Here's another player getting hot, Owen Carpellotti, the lefty catcher for the Firebirds. As King is off first, he squares around a bunt, gets it down, right back to Yale, who'll pick it up, toss it over to first in time for the out. Moving to second is Eddie King.
A successful bunt laid down by Carpellotti. I got flashbacks of the 5th when he laid down a bunt in the 2nd inning, and it ended up scoring a run for Orleans with a runner on third. But then all of a sudden, Carpellotti was called out for runner's interference on his way to first, and the whole thing went by the wayside. Carpellotti gets his revenge there with a great sac bunt.
King in scoring position for the Firebirds. And up comes the switch hitter, Drew Farreau, batting from the right side against the left-hander, Max Yale. First pitch to Farreau is a foul ball, third base line, and into the hand of the third base coach, Max Vesky.
Farreau, he's back at shortstop for the first time in a little while. His first game in 8 days playing at short. But he has to stay there because that's where he was at the beginning of this ball game back on the 5th.
Farreau went 1 for 5 with a walk and 2 runs against Falmouth 2 nights ago. The 0-1, a foul tip into the mitt of White for strike 2.
It was just such an unbelievable offensive performance, and it's because you got a little something from everybody. 10 guys came to the plate. All of them walked away with a hit. 15 hits on the game against the Commodores pitching staff that has been reeling.
Yale looks at second. The 0-2 pitch to Farreau bounces in the dirt. White keeps it in front of him, and King will retreat back to second base. 1-2 the count to Farreau, 1 out. Eddie King on second after he singled to right to begin the inning and moved to second on a sac bunt by Owen Carpellotti. Yale with another glance at second, now kicks and deals. It's low, and it gets away from White. Actually, it hit Farreau in the ankle. So King, who was on his way to third on what he thought was a wild pitch, will head back to second, and Drew Farreau heads over to first. First and second with 1 out for the Firebirds, and up comes Jake Casey.
Yeah, was able to work through traffic last inning after letting a leadoff base runner aboard, and Stallman went 1-2-3. But Orleans is just playing small ball right now. The sac bunt from Carpellotti, a good at bat, halted suddenly by Farreau. Out of the bottom of the order with Jake Casey.
Casey, the left-handed batter out of Kent State, rising junior. First pitch from lefty Yale is in there for a strike with the fastball clocking in at 89 miles per hour.
Casey trying to keep the success that he had yesterday on the mini golf course. The Orleans Firebirds alive here on the baseball diamond.
Yale kicks and deals the 0-1, a swing and a miss as he had Casey out in front on the breaking ball.
Orleans had the day off, just like most of the league. And Casey and the mini golf team that he assembled, 3 other teammates, won the Open. So congrats to him.
A group open win for Jay Casey on the off day. 0-2 the count to lefty Casey, who takes low. 2 runners on, 1 out of a 5-5 tie game in the top of the 6th. Before another 9-inning game, game 2 of the doubleheader, taking place 45 minutes after this one concludes. Yale glances at second. The 1-2 is fouled back. Oh, Ian, did you get notice or did you get information on which golf course they went to? Because I know there's so many different ones here.
Unfortunately, Jake did not remember the name of the mini golf course when I talked to him on the Scorching Start. He said that his team of 4 players, including himself, won, although Grayson Carter actually had the best day out on the mini golf course out of any player on this team.
Win for Grayson Carter. He's now looking for it on the baseball field. Double steal from the Firebirds. It hits Casey. They're going to get the base anyway. And Jake Casey hit by a pitch. Back-to-back hit by pitches for Max Yale. Loads the bases for the Firebirds with 1 out. And up comes Joe Oyama.
This is just tough sledding right now for Yale. Orleans staying patient in the batter's box and taking what Yale gives them literally. Back-to-back guys at the bottom of the order wear pitches. Casey plunked for the 7th time this summer. And back from an off day on Wednesday, Joe Oyama with the bases loaded watch out.
Oyama 0 for 3 on the day in the left-handed batter's box against the lefty Yale. Bases loaded, 1 out. In the top of the 6th of a tie game. First pitch breaking ball in for a strike to the lefty out of UC Irvine.
A lot has changed since Oyama went 0 for 3 all the way back on July 5th. Now he's the reigning Cape League Player of the Week, and for good reason.
Came into this game hitting .367, puts it in play to shortstop. Throw is all the way across the diamond to first, no throw. Keeping it in his hand is Fabian, an infield single for Oyama, and the Firebirds take the lead 6-5.
The small ball continues. Oyama hits it in the 5-6 hole. I thought Fabian had enough time to make that play. It would have been tight, especially with Oyama's great speed. Decides to eat it, and with the bases loaded, try to limit the damage here with 1 out.
Firebirds take the lead 6-5. Bases still loaded, and still 1 out on the inning. Stallman to bat, the left-handed hitter. First pitch from Yale is outside for a ball. Yale, who has been primarily a starter for these Anglers, and it must be such a weird situation starting a game in the 5th inning.
Well, the thing is, it was tied at 5 headed in, so it was already an even slate.
The 1-0 pitch is popped up foul, third base side out of play.
So I do understand that if you look up at the scoreboard, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But situationally, he walked into a game that was tied, just like it would be 0-0 in his start, and there was nobody on the base paths, and there was nobody out. So awkward, but technically a normal start, really.
Stallman the batter, 1-1 the count with 1 out, and the bases loaded. Kicking and dealing is Yale, swing and a miss by Stallman. An 82-mile-per-hour slider from Yale. Oyama singled in the hole of shortstop in third, and in to score was Eddie King Jr. after he led off the inning with a single. 1 out, 1-2 the count to Stallman, who singled in the 5th. Pitch is low and outside, 2-2.
Stallman's already delivered once in this game with his leadoff single last inning. A much different circumstance this time around, but another at bat with patience being at the forefront.
Even count, 1 out, bases loaded. The pitch just outside on the fastball, and the counts run full.
That could have been strike 3, but again, Stallman, unless he has something that he needs to swing at, is not going to expand his zone, and he's getting ahead in the count.
Full count, 1 out, bases loaded. The pitch, swing and a miss by Stallman. A big strikeout for Yale as he collects out number 2.
And now it comes down to one of the most clutch players on this team, and Jack Penny. In these last 2 games, Orleans has done a good job of limiting the numbers left on base. Before that, it was an issue for this team.
Penny the batter against Yale. Yale struck him out last inning in the 5th. First pitch to Penny is in there for a strike with the fastball.
Penny a home run on Wednesday against Falmouth. Also hit a home run, which will finally count all the way back on the 5th. A 2-run shot for him here from Veterans Field.
0-1 pitch is low and blocked up well by White. That gets away with the big backstop here in Veterans Field from third. Farrow would come around to score. Farrow's on third. Casey's on second, and Oyama's on first. The batter, Penny, 1-1 the count against Yale with 2 outs. The pitch is popped up in a center. Holt has a read on it and makes the catch. Max Yale allows 1 but strands the bases loaded. Here in the 6th, Firebirds take the lead 6-5 as we go to the bottom of the frame. Back here at Veterans Field in Chatham for the bottom of the 6th, Chatham will bring up their bottom 3 in the order. It starts with Bryce Martin Grudzelanek, the right-handed hitter out of USC in California. You have to say that now. Some people get the wrong idea. I think we're talking about South Carolina. Grayson Carter back to the mound after an easy 4th and a 1-2-3 5th. Pitching from the stretch, a fastball in for the strike at 95 miles per hour.
Martin Grudzelanek, one of the newer members of EA's, joined the team on the 10th of the month. He's got 5 hits in his last 3 games.
Grudzelanek, the 6'3" righty, takes a strike, 0-2.
Curious to see, Grayson Carter looks good right now. How much longer does he get the leash from Kelly Nicholson?
Kicks and deals the 0-2. It's on the ground to short. Farrow collects and throws it high. Grudzelanek is safe as Hallback had to come off the bag. That'll go down as an error on Drew Farrow as Grudzelanek reaches first with nobody out. They're going to call that one a hit here at Veterans Field. I think that is the most provocative call that we've seen so far this season. Grudzelanek has good speed, but it's a routine play over at shortstop. Hallback at first, holding on Grudzelanek. First pitch ball fired into Lane Forsythe, the right-handed hitter.
Yeah, I'd agree with you, Dylan. And unfortunately for Farrow, again, playing shortstop for the first time in over a week, has been a bit of an up and down so far this season for him defensively.
The 0-1 is pounded into center field and down for a base hit. The first 2 runners reach here for Chatham in the 6th as Grudzelanek moves to second and Forsythe singles. He's on first.
And you just make things more difficult for your pitcher. It's a completely different situation. Instead of 1 on first and 1 out, it's 2 on and nobody out. I know I don't have to explain how costly errors can be, but especially in that stretch where Orleans lost 4 of 5 earlier in the week, errors hurt this team badly.
Hudson White, the right-handed hitter, up against Carter. Fires high at 98 for a ball. Martin Grudzelanek on second. On first is Forsythe. Against Grayson Carter. Nobody out here in the bottom of the 6th. Orleans up 6-5. Carter turns his neck twice at second. Now fires. It's a pop-up into right center field. Strolling over is Eddie King. Making the catch is the right fielder Casey. And he tosses it in quickly, forcing Martin Grudzelanek to retreat back to second.
Good catch for Casey. You can finally see the ball here from Veterans Field. The last time he looked up at a fly ball, the game got canceled because it was so obvious that the fog was so heavy and so bad here from Veterans Field that it just became an unplayable ball game. And here we are 23 days later, and Jay Casey is back to doing what he does.
He makes the catch for out number 1. Back to the top of the Chatham order, Zach McDonald swings through a fastball by Carter for strike number 1. McDonald, one of the replacements in this Chatham order. The original hitter was Matthew Etzel out of Ohio. And now here is McDonald. He swings through another fastball at 99. 0-2. He comes from Miami of Ohio.
And speaking of reasons why guys are out of the lineup, Etzel was drafted by the Orioles in the 11th round of the Major League Draft. Congratulations to him.
The 0-2 pitch is low. Carter keeping it at 98. Not a bad reason to not be here.
Just like Johnny Olmstead.
That's right. 19th round to the Marlins. Played his first 2 games in the Florida Complex League the past 2 days. Had an RBI single. 1-2 the count to McDonald. Carter's pitch is fouled at home plate.
It was so important to have a guy like Johnny Olmstead on this team. I know it's so difficult. You and I were talking earlier in the day about summer ball roster reconfiguration. This is a younger Firebirds team overall, but Olmstead was the veteran anchor at the start of the year that set the tone for a group that's still getting it done, even weeks after his departure.
A veteran that brought A lot of experience in all different facets of the game. The 1-2, a chopper, shallow, shortstop. Farrow up with it, tosses over to first. Not in time, and the throw gets away. Into score is Martin Grudzalanek. Moving to second is the batter McDonald, and over to third is Forsyth. Chatham ties this game. Another hit for Chatham. That one a little bit more explanatory in terms of the scoring. But now we're at 6-6 with 2 runners on in scoring position for the Anglers.
That's the thing about the eye test as the infield comes in, and ERA, right? Grayson Carter has not been helped out by his defense, and he's given up 2 hits on the stat sheet in the scorebook. But if you were out here seeing how he was pitching, you wouldn't believe that.
Derek Fabian, the batter, takes high on the off-speed pitch. Now they change it to an error on the runner moving to second base. So Farrow collects the error. It was a hit originally, and it still will be a single. Firebirds with the infield in against Derek Fabian. The 1-0 gets to the backstop, comes back to Carpellotti, but he couldn't pick up the ball. Scoring is the runner from third, Forsyth. Chatham takes a 7-6 lead, all because of some defensive miscues from Orleans.
Even in that doubleheader against the A's a week ago, Orleans took the second game, but committed multiple errors in the process. This is a Firebirds team that just clinched the playoffs, coming off an off day, playing in an odd scenario in a makeup game here from Veterans Field. And they look a little sluggish, at least defensively, to start this game and needs to tighten up.
Runner on third now is McDonald. He moved on the wild pitch from Carter. 7-6 Chatham the score. 2-0 to Fabian as a strike down the middle at 99. You have a play that should have been made to start the inning that was ruled a hit by the shortstop, Farrow. And then a throw that went wide of Hallback to move the runners past. 2-1 is fouled back to the backstop. Runner on third, McDonald, with 1 out. 7-6 the score with Chatham in front, and 2-2 the count. Carter comes set at the belt. Looks at third. Now fires the 2-2. Swing and a miss. 96 at the bottom of the zone, and he gets him swinging for out number 2.
Grayson Carter's fastball is always going to be the pitch. Maybe not always, but why wouldn't it be the pitch he goes to in big situations? Not only does it move well, but it clocks in at, again, the highest velocity in the Cape League. Nobody's been able to catch up to it yet.
The left-handed hitter, Brennan Holt, steps into the box, takes the fastball high at 98. McDonald on third. Holt was the player who sadly had to take over on this resumption of the game on a 3-2 count with runners on the corners. The 1-0 in for a strike. He did not start the at-bat back on the 5th. He came in and took a strike down the middle. The third out of the inning and the third strike of the at-bat. Carter's 1-1 is right back to him on the backhand, picks it up, tosses the first for the out. Carter not only gets the strikeout, but also makes a good play defensively as a pitcher off the mound. Backhands the ball and tosses it over to first for out number 3. Defensive miscues take over for Orleans, and Chatham plates 2 in the bottom of the 6th. We'll go to the 7th, 7-6 Anglers. Here in the 7th of a wacky, crazy combination of 2 days that were 23 days apart. That's how we'll put it. July 5th is when this game started. Today, July 28th, is where we resume it. In the 7th is where we are. Matt Hallback, the batter, against Max Yale, the left-handed pitcher for Chatham. Nobody out, nobody on. Hallback swings first pitch, drives it into the right center field gap, but making the catch on the run is Holt for out number 1.
It's a good play from Holt in center field. A theme through these first 2 innings. Orleans putting traffic on the base paths and not coming through just yet. Already left 4 base runners stranded after 2 1/3 innings.
The Firebirds had bases loaded with only 1 out last inning. Could not bring more than 1 run home. Eddie Micheletti, the batter, from the left side, takes a ball outside from Yale. Micheletti 1 for 3 tonight. 3 years at George Washington and headed to Virginia Tech in the fall. Smacks it to right center field. Well hit. Back at the track, at the wall. It's off the wall. Micheletti to second, and he'll stop there. About 2 feet away from getting it out of here at Veterans Field. Eddie Micheletti, a 1-out double.
Eddie Micheletti has had a lot of success as of late against the Anglers. You go back a week ago today to the second leg of a doubleheader and a 4-3 win for Orleans. He did it all. He went 4 for 4, drove in 2 runs, and doubled like he did just there. That one hit 366 feet to right center.
Eddie King, the batter, with Micheletti on second. First pitch swung through, the fastball for a strike. King already a big game so far. A 2-run shot in the 3rd. That went over the left center field fence. And a single to lead off the 6th. He came around to score. And a Joe Oyama single. The 0-1 to King is inside. Yale digs his left foot into the rubber and the dirt around it. Looking for better positioning. 1-1 is low, blocked up by White, the catcher, and Micheletti heads back to second.
Even though this game began on July 5th, and that's when Eddie Micheletti, or rather Eddie King, hit the home run, when this game's all said and done, it will be 3 home runs for him in the last 12 days.
Eddie King, one of the hottest hitters on the Firebirds right now. The 1-1 swung through on the off-speed pitch. 1-2. With some of the regulars, some of the players you expect to perform, still having good numbers, but maybe not having breakthrough games. Eddie King has been just another bat to add to this lineup that's been really good. King went around on a ball that almost hit his back foot. Yale's breaking ball. Catches King swinging as his bat crosses home plate for out number 2.
Heck of a pitch from Yale with a lot of movement. That fooled King. Singled his first time up to lead off the inning in the 6th.
Owen Carpellotti, who bunted King over to second last inning, is up with 2 outs and a runner on second base. Takes a fastball low and outside. Micheletti with a 1-out double that just stayed in the ballpark. The blue awning along the fence here at Veterans Field as Carpellotti swings through the inside fastball. 1 ball, 1 strike. Along with banners, red, white, and blue. Like a flag, but in banner form, semicircle. The 1-1 is outside. Now 2-1 to the catcher out of Georgetown, who's really had an improvement in terms of his at-bats over the last 2 weeks or so. July has been a different month for Carpellotti. The 2-1's outside. Going into July 2nd, his batting average was under 150. Ever since, it's been above 250. Getting used to Cape Cod baseball is Owen Carpellotti. Up 3-1 in the count against Yale. Micheletti on second. The pitch is at the top of the zone for a strike, and Carpellotti didn't like it. Looked back, shook his head, and we'll get back into the box. Full count. Yale looking to work through another inning, the 7th. Here in a resumption of a game, 3-2 is inside. Carpellotti will walk. First and second for Orleans, and up comes Drew Farreau.
That pitch might have got a piece of Carpellotti, but not entirely sure. Way inside. However way you slice it, it acts as ball 4. Puts runners on first and second for Orleans. A good at bat from Carpellotti. He could have got frustrated. That pitch for strike 2 was on the upper third. He didn't like the call, but he rebounded, held up, and was awarded a base.
Speaking of rebounding, here's a man who could use a big hit. Drew Farreau takes the ball outside, batting from the right side. The switch hitter is against Yale. After an error in the bottom of the 6th, along with a misplayed ball that went down as a single in the infield. Runners on first and second. 1-0 the count. Farreau pops it up. Third base side in foul territory. Over goes Forsythe. And he'll make the catch right near the fence for out number 3. Firebirds leave 2 more on. Over the past 3 innings, they've left 6 runners on base. We'll stretch here in Chatham, even though we started just 45 minutes ago at Veterans Field here on the Birds Broadcast Network. Here from Veterans Field in Chatham, we go to the bottom of the 7th of a game that Chatham leads 7-6 over Orleans. We resumed at 5-5. Orleans put up 1 run in the top of the 6th. Chatham responded with 2 runs in the bottom of the frame. And now we go to the bottom of the 7th. The first batter is Gavin Mez. Grounded out back to Carter, the pitcher, who's on for another inning of work. Back in the 5th. Mez at the University of Southern California against Carter, the Vanderbilt righty. First pitch to the bottom of the 7th is in for a strike on the changeup.
I mentioned it a bit earlier, but for Grayson Carter, somebody who's taken on a starting role as of late.
0-1 swung through by Mez on a slider that clocks in at 93 miles per hour.
It's a special pitch for a pitcher who might have an opportunity to take on an even bigger role with this team.
The 0-2's outside.
I mean, there's no doubting what Grayson Carter can do out on the mound. He's a midweek starter at Vanderbilt. He's probably going to be one of our high-leverage bullpen guys over his final 2 years there, if he's there for 2 years. But what role does he take on for Kelly Nicholson's team as his summer rolls on?
The 1-2 to Mez is outside with the changeup.
Because now he hasn't pitched more than 3 1/3. Did that last Friday, 6 strikeouts. He was fantastic in the start against Chatham. Does he go the distance in this game? Probably doesn't, but I think it's something you at least got to think about. It would be, what, 5 1/3 innings?
That's what it would be. His 36th pitch is poked third base side at a play. 2-2 to Mez is where we stand. He was batting for Nolan Schubert, who Took 2 at-bats in this game, went 0 for 2 with a strikeout. Mez is 0 for 1. Nobody out, nobody on. 7-6 Chatham in the bottom of the 7th. Carter kicks his right leg and deals outside and high. 99 miles per hour on the radar gun.
I just think with all the bullpen shuffling, the losses of starters, Grayson Carter is going to at least be an opener in the postseason for the Firebirds. But I wonder, does he turn into a little bit more than that as the season rolls on?
Carter's full count pitch of the line drive at Oyama. Takes it on a hop and tosses it over to first, where Stallman makes the catch. Defensive change for the Firebirds. Jack Penny goes from third to shortstop, and Justin Rubin takes over in the order for Drew Farrow. He'll be playing third base. 1 out here in the bottom of the 7th, and up comes Tyler Wolfert, the right-handed batter. But Ian, like you were saying, with 7 games to go after today for the Firebirds, Carter will probably have one more appearance for Orleans before the playoffs start. It's just, how does he feel and how much can they build him up? Wolfert swings at a high fastball for strike number 1.
Because it's not going to be an innings limit thing. Carter pitched around high 20s, low 30 innings pitched numbers during his sophomore year at Vanderbilt, and he hasn't pitched a ton here on the Cape.
The 1 to Wolfert is just inside. Carter looked to deal a front door slider, but couldn't get the call. Like you said, his longest outing was last time out, 3 1/3. How long can he go today in a weird, wacky situation? The 1-1 goes to the opposite way. Over is Casey. Near the right field line, he makes the catch at his face.
And you talk about that defensive change from a moment ago with Rubin. Penny slides over to short, where he had been playing in each of the previous 4 games. He's a primary shortstop at Notre Dame. Just finished up his sophomore year there. Meanwhile, Justin Rubin making his Firebirds debut at third, but he was already set to start at third in the second game of his doubleheader. Thank you to Kelly Nicholson for sharing those lineups very early.
Always a thankful thing. Good for the broadcasters. 2 outs, nobody on. A first pitch changeup from Carter to Caden Kent is low and outside. Kent is 1 for 3 on the day. Grounded out to short in his last at-bat. The 1-0, a ground ball, first base side, diving, stopped by Stallman. The toss to Carter is in time as he touches the bag with his right foot. Stallman to Carter for out number 3 in the 7th. 1-2-3 for the Firebirds. We'll go to the 8th. Chatham leads 7-6.
Welcome back to the Birds Broadcast Network. I'm Sammy Miller. Chatham is currently up 7-6, heading to the top of the 8th. Now, 2 players who might have been the most excited to finish this postponed game is none other than Jack Penny and Eddie King Jr. On July 5th, Jack had that 3-run homer, and Eddie had a 2-run homer, both in the 3rd inning, but was never in the official scorebooks because the game never finished. These 2 have been so eager to play this game, not just because of those stats, but because they are hungry to see what else they can do at Veterans Field. They've been finding a lot of success in the batter's box recently by being patient and waiting for their pitch, and it sure has been working out for them. Now, that same mentality is being brought in for today's game, where they hope to replicate that same feeling of seeing that ball soar out. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Sammy. Not only has Jack Penny and Eddie King wanted this game to be finished so that home run would go down in the stat sheet, but Ian, us too would like that one to go down so we can be a little bit more official with our numbers.
Well, even on that Eddie King home run, what was it, a few days ago from Orleans, you know, you have to say it's his 2nd official home run of the season. Done with that nonsense. Hopefully the fog stays away, not only from Veterans Field, but throughout the rest of a regular season, as there's a new guy looking to hit a home run in the lineup for the Birds.
Fenwick Trimble will be the pinch hitter for Jake Casey in the 9-hole for the Firebirds. He'll come in and most likely play right field. in the bottom of the 8th. We're here in the top of the 8th. Nobody on, nobody out. As everything's being sorted out, Trimble, a right-handed hitter, out of James Madison, a rising junior, had a great game against Falmouth 2 nights ago. 2 for 5 with a double and 2 RBIs. Possibly his best game of the season. First pitch swing, a chopper to third. Forsyth will throw it over the top and get Trimble for the first out of the inning.
Trimble's had 2 of his best games of the summer at Falmouth. In both the road games against Fedors, he had 2 hits and 2 runs driven in. Unfortunately, that had bad ends rather quickly. As Yale continuing to work really well. Both pitchers slated to, quote, start this game have done a good job. They haven't been helped out a ton by their defense here and there, but both of them have looked really solid.
Max Yale, who started this game, quote-unquote started, in the 5th. He's now in the 8th with 1 out, and Joe Oyama, the batter, the leadoff hitter for the Firebirds, tries to lay down a bunt and takes a spill. Did he go around? Yes, he did. An interesting situation there. Oyama went to lay down a bunt. The pitch was far inside by Yale, and the third base umpire ruled on the check by White that Oyama did not pull his bat back in time. So it's ruled a strike.
It's getting a little ridiculous. You know, Oyama could have been the 4th batter, but Yale would have plunked if he didn't go around.
0-1's outside. Yale hit Farrow, and he also hit Jake Casey. Also allowed a few free passes. The 1-1 to Oyama is pop foul and out of play right behind the backstop. 1-2 with 1 out, nobody on in the top of the 8th. Firebirds chasing 1, down 7-6.
Firebirds also chasing number 1 in the division. YD leads, but Orleans on its tail.
The 1-2 is outside. Firebirds are 2.5 games back, 5 points in the standings, with 1 game in hand against those YD Red Sox, who beat the Firebirds twice early in the week on Sunday and Monday. 2-2 to Oyama, swing and a miss. Yale with another strikeout on an 82-mile-per-hour slider. His 4th strikeout of his outing, collects out number 2 in the 8th.
That's why this doubleheader is so big for Orleans. You can kind of wash away that early week nonsense, your lack of offensive production against YD. And even if YD wins tonight, if you sweep Chatham, you gain a game on the best team in your division. That's why you don't want to split tonight. You want to walk away with 2.
Got to start with 1, down 1. Stallman swings first pitch and fouls it into the Chatham dugout, third base side. And we've seen the Firebirds beat some of the best teams in the league this season. Katuitt, YD, Hyannis, etc. But it seems like when they're playing teams that are a bit lower in the standings at the bottom, like a Chatham or a Wareham, they don't play their best baseball. The 0-1 swing and a miss by Stallman.
There's not much to explain it. This is a tight group of guys. We've talked about it all season long. They all want to be here. They all want to win. I guess I could say that they do play a little bit up to the great teams, which is what you want to see. But it's true. You split the season series with Wareham.
0-2 to Stallman is low.
You trail the season series to Chatham. This is one of, if not the best rivalry in the Cape, in my opinion, are these 2 teams. I know it's kind of become Bourne and Brewster over the last couple of years, but as division rivalries go, this is a great one. You want to own it.
1-2, 2 outs, nobody on. Stallman swings and misses. Yale has been outstanding. 4 straight retired, including 5 strikeouts on the outing for Max Yale. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. Chatham leads 7-6. Back here on the Birds Broadcast Network, it's Grayson Carter. Back to the mound here in the bottom of the 8th. He'll face Bryce Martin, Grudzelanek, Lane Forsythe, and Hudson White. The bottom 3 in the order for Chatham as they lead 7-6. Carter, who started in the 4th, at the final out of that inning, as he fires a ball, but Grudzelanek goes around, ruled a strike on the 96-mile-per-hour fastball. Started in the 4th, got the last out of the inning, went 1-2-3 in the 5th, ran into some trouble in the 6th due to defensive miscues by the Firebirds as the 0-1 bounces in for a ball. 2 runs came across for Chatham, both unearned, or 1 earned, 1 not earned, because some interesting scorekeeping here in Chatham. And then a 1-2-3 inning in the 7th. 1-1 to Martin Grudzelanek is on the ground to third. Justin Rubin will toss it over to first for the out.
Rubin flashes the leather for the first time at third base. It's his first appearance at third all summer for Orleans. Made 2 errors. Those both came in 1 game, and they were very uncharacteristic. He's battled some nagging injuries over the last few days. But when he's in the lineup, there's one thing he provides to the infield. Elite-level defensive play. Not a routine ground ball there, but he'll show it.
Lane Forsythe, the right-handed hitter, against Carter. Fires high for ball 1 at 98 miles per hour. 1 out, nobody on. Chatham has just had the Firebirds number this season. It started all back at the start of the season in game number 5, where Chatham tossed a 1-hit shutout in a 2-0 win against the Firebirds. 1-0's outside, 2-0, and they only needed 2 pitchers to do it. Brody Brecht went 4 innings to start that game. The Iowa right-handed flamethrower, 2 0s fouled back, 2-1 with 1 out to Forsythe. And then Matt Tugboat Wilkinson went 5 perfect innings with 9 strikeouts to end that game.
That was unreal. Tugboat ended up getting drafted to the Cleveland Guardians.
2 1s inside.
Congratulations to him.
And Brody Brecht is eligible next year.
And he's going to be a very high draft pick and a very well-paid man.
3-1 is pop foul out of play. Counts full to Forsythe, who singled in the 6th on a ball to shortstop that could have went either way in terms of an error or a single. The 3-2 pitch from Carter is chopped foul third base side.
I said earlier Carter might go 5 1/3 today. It won't be possible if Orleans can't put a run on the board in the top of the 9th inning. But give him a lot of credit. I've said it once, I'll say it again. Working through an up and down defensive performance. He's been great.
The full count pitch is high and inside for a walk with 1 out. Chatham collects a base runner against Carter. His first walk of the day. It brings up Hudson White out of Texas Tech, who has walked and flown out to right field. The 9-hole hitter doing the catching for Chatham today against Carter, who's at 53 pitches and 54 to start White coming up. He kicks and deals a fastball in for a strike at 99.
Don't believe we've seen Carter hit triple digits just yet. First hit it in fall ball of his sophomore year at Vanderbilt, and I believe he hit the mark the last time he pitched against Chatham here on the 5th.
0-1 tipped into the glove of Carpellotti. It's a foul ball as it came out of Carpellotti's glove, and the runner, Forsythe, will head back to first. Carter's had an interesting story. When he first got to Vanderbilt, he only, and we say only, threw 95, 96 miles per hour. He got cut from the team due to roster limitations, headed back home, and worked in California with a man named Lance Wheeler. Only spent 2 days in Huntington Beach, California with Mr. Wheeler, who's worked with so many different baseball players, increasing velocity, and He told Carter to really start using your legs. He got him from 96 to upwards of 100 miles per hour. 0-2 the count against White. The pitch is fouled away.
Another interesting part of a reason why Carter continued to build strength and work on his fundamentals, get to the point where he's at now with his arm. He's a pescatarian. He's never eaten meat in his life. Just added more fish to the diet heading into his sophomore year. Gained a lot of weight, gained a lot of muscle, and ultimately was able to hit that mark his sophomore year.
0-2, pop up into center. Eddie King moves 3 feet to his left and makes the catch. Retreating back to first is Forsythe. 2 outs here in the 8th. Put on 45 pounds, Carter did, between his freshman and sophomore year. Like you said, adding some more fish to the diet. And also, after getting cut his freshman year, coming back his sophomore year, he won the Omaha Challenge, which is a cardio challenge that's posed to every Vanderbilt player on the roster. Up comes Zach McDonald with 2 outs and a runner on first. Carter checks over on the runner to no avail. Carter won the cardio challenge, which is upwards of 4 to 5 days for all Vanderbilt players. Doing stairs, sprints, lifting, etc. Who will be the man to last? And that was Grayson Carter. McDonald, 2-hopper to shortstop. Penny throws to Oyama for the 3rd out of the inning. Forces out Forsythe for the 3rd out. We'll go to the 9th. Firebirds down to their last 3 outs. They need at least 1. Down 7-6. Firebirds down to their final 3 outs as we go to the 9th, down 7-6 to Chatham. Max Yale, who's been nothing but excellent, still in the game for the Anglers after he started his outing in the 5th. Allowed just 1 run over these 4 innings. Back in the 6th on an RBI single from Joe Oyama that didn't even leave the infield. Up for the Firebirds is Jack Penny, Matt Hovack, and Eddie Micheletti Jr. 3, 4, and 5 in the order against Max Yale.
He's been tough to beat. It's an offense that just hasn't come out with a lot of energy right now. And it's a shame because in each of the first 2 innings that this team played in today, resuming this ball game that started on the 5th of the month in the bottom of the 4th inning, they had leadoff singles. So they've had opportunities to build upon early success in these innings. They haven't cashed in. Jack Penny's going to try to do his best to reach for the first time tonight after his 3-run home run over 3 weeks ago.
Penny in the left-handed batter's box against Yale, the lefty. First pitch is high for a ball. Penny's been no stranger to having clutch hits for the Firebirds, most notably 4 weeks ago on a Sunday at Red Wilson Field in Yarmouth. A solo shot to tie the game in the 8th inning. 1-0 in there for a strike on the inside corner, making the game 4-4, which the Firebirds eventually won 5-4. Penny with the go-ahead fielder's choice against the top team in the East. 1-1 is low and away, bounces to the backstop. 2-1 to Penny.
Yeah, it was a season-defining win for Orleans. Right now, you're in the final stretch of your season. Regular season ends next Wednesday. How does this group finish up?
This game a big part of it. The 2-1 to Penny goes the opposite way. Back goes McDonald. Now he comes in sprinting. He dives. He cannot make the play. The Win took the ball in front of McDonald, and Penny ends up on second base. The Win, which is moving from left to right, took a ball from the warning track where McDonald started, about 20 feet in from the left field wall. Penny ends up on second base with nobody out.
The Win might have aided Jack Penny there. Unless that ball was headed to go over the left field wall, that was going to die at the track, like you kind of alluded to. Instead, it dinks in at 279 feet, and McDonald can't make a difficult play. Another extra base hit.
Matt Hallback, the batter. Runner on second. Penny, he's the tying run. First pitch to Hallback is a strike. Hallback is 1 for 3 on the day with a walk and a single. The Firebirds have left runners on all day. Can they bring home the biggest run, the tying run? 0-1, ground ball into left field for a base hit. Penny gets the wave. Now he's going to stop as the ball comes in quickly. Penny ends up at third. Matt Hallback with a single. Runners on the corners with nobody out for Orleans.
That could have been a tough spot for Orleans. Luckily, Hallback stops at the hot corner. Penny stops after a great hit from Hallback. Now Kelly Nicholson wants a word.
Nicholson talking with some of the umpires. We'll see what it is about. Everything seemed all right. Penny stopped at third after he rounded the base and went back. Hallback's at first. Eddie Micheletti is the batter to come up. Nicholson and the umpire getting a little bit more heated now. Some hand gesturing, pointing at home plate. Possibility that Penny was tripped at third base, maybe interference on the runner?
I believe somewhere in between second and third, he might have either ran into the path of a Chatham fielder or tripped up just on the dirt.
Nothing comes out of it. Eddie Micheletti is the batter with Hallback on first and Penny on third. Penny's the runner that matters the most as the Firebirds trail by 1 here in the 9th inning. Nobody out. Corners are in for Chatham. Middle infield back, so even a ground ball would tie this game to second or short. Yale the pitcher, first pitch to Micheletti, and for a strike with the fastball. Ian, if there was anyone on this order or roster for the Firebirds to be up in this situation, I think Micheletti's up there.
Remember what he did last time in the 9th inning against Chatham? Delivered the double that eventually turned into the game-winning run.
The 0-1 to Micheletti. Line drive into right field for a base hit. In comes Penny. This game is tied. Eddie Micheletti, a line drive into right field, scores Jack Penny. Moving to second is Hallback, and we're tied at 7 here in Chatham.
Right on cue. Not a double, not a hit that's going to win the game in the top of the inning. But Micheletti just with a well-hit line drive through the hole and in the right. 100 miles an hour off the bat. Nothing you can do about it. Hits it to a perfect spot. Drives in a runner. But now, again, somebody who's been hot as of late. Eddie King comes to the plate with runners on first and second and nobody out. As Yale has been shaken here in the 9th inning, it's a tough spot to be in. But can Orleans, who's had a bit of an issue today, stranding base runners, take the lead?
4th game in a row, the Firebirds have collected 10 hits or more. They have 12. Eddie King, the batter, and it seems like they might be going to the bullpen. Todd Shelton, the interim manager for Chatham, their 3rd manager of the summer, trying to keep this one straight, heads to the mound against Yale, and he'll call to the bullpen. So we'll be heading to break. Runners on first and second, nobody out for Orleans. Top 9, tie game at 7. the Birds Broadcast Network. 7-7 the score after the Firebirds tack one on here in the 9th to stay alive. They also have runners on first and second. Hall back on second. Eddie Micheletti on first base. Nobody out here in the top of the 9th. Eddie King is due up against who, Ian?
Jack Brodsky, who did not begin his summer here with the Chatham A's, actually began his summer with the Amsterdam Mohawks of a Perfect Game Collegiate Baseball League, where he was very good. Did not give up an earned run in 6 innings pitched with 12 strikeouts and no walks. Here on the Cape, it's been a bit of a different story for the 23-year-old from Division II Tampa. He's got a 7 ERA in 10 1/3 innings pitched. His second to last appearance was against the Firebirds a week ago from today, where he was handed the loss in the second leg of a doubleheader. Pitched 1 2/3 innings, didn't give up an earned run, but gave up the go-ahead run off 3 hits with 3 strikeouts and a walk.
If you remember, like you said, he pitched the 9th inning. Eddie Micheletti with the double. Jay Casey moved up on a ground ball to the right side, and then Casey scored on a walk-off sac fly by Owen Carpellotti. Eddie King is the batter as Brodsky squats on the mound behind the rubber. Spits down and now stands up. 2 runners on for Orleans. Tie game, top 9. Eddie King in the box. A 2-for-4 day for King, including a home run and a single. King squares around to bunt. First pitch from Brodsky is bunted foul at the plate.
This is what the Firebirds do. Even if Eddie King is the hottest bat in this lineup, his speed allows him not only to put the ball down, but potentially even beat it out for a bunt single.
See if he tries it again. 0-1 against Brodsky. In from first is Kent on the grass. King squares again. He gets it down right back to the pitcher, Brodsky. He'll have to fire to first, and he does for the out. But King does his job. Moving to third is Hallback. Moving to second is Micheletti with 1 out here in the top of the 9th.
So unselfish. Eddie King has been on top of the world over this last week, hitting home runs, extra base hits. Kelly Nicholson goes to him in the dugout, gives him a high five. He does his job.
So Owen Carpellotti, who last time he faced Brodsky, a walk-off sac fly. Another sac fly would do the job here. 2 runners on, Micheletti on second, Hall back on third, 1 out. Carpellotti the batter with Chatham bringing their infield in. First pitch from Brodsky is a line drive into left field. Back goes McDonald, and he is a foul ball. Just to the left of the foul line. Carpellotti with good contact on a 92-mile-per-hour fastball, but couldn't keep it fair. Carpellotti was halfway to second base, thinking he had a go-ahead double. Before we go to the 0-1 pitch, Colin Tuft taking over for Eddie Micheletti as a pinch runner. So Tuft on second. Hallback stays on first. Micheletti is the left fielder. So second and third, 1 out. 0-1 the count to Carpellotti from Brodsky. With 2 on. Chatham infield in. To keep this a tie game. 7-7 of a wacky contest. The 0-1 from Brodsky is low. It gets away from the catcher, and in comes Hallback. A wild pitch which allows the go-ahead run to score. Hallback is the 8th run and the go-ahead run for Orleans.
Defensive miscues from Orleans allowed Chatham to take the lead. And just a few innings later, another one cost Chatham a tied game.
Moving to third is Colin Tuft. 1-1 the count on Carpellotti. Now 8-7 Orleans. Brodsky kicks and deals. A line drive to second. Throw home is high. In time to get Tuft as he's tagged out at the plate. Carpellotti reaches first. No chance for Tuft as it was Martin Grudzelanek, the second baseman, throwing it home to White, who made the tag on Tuft, who didn't even attempt to slide. He had no room. Second out of the inning. Carp on first. Rubin the batter.
Tuft was dead to rights. That's an unfortunate second out of the inning. Justin Rubin has been a little quiet as of late. so good from the plate this year for Orleans. Can he extend the inning?
Carpellotti on first. Rubin taking his first at-bat with the lead. Sean Matson warming up for the Firebirds. In the bullpen down the right field line on the warning track. Matson last pitched against Falmouth 2 nights ago. A scoreless 9th inning and a 13-3 win. 1-0 the count to Rubin. Carpellotti on first. It's a ball inside. Ian, we talk about, of course, the double from Penny, which didn't seem like that was going to go and drop. He scored the tying run. That's how the inning started. Hallback with a single to left field. I think the biggest play of this inning so far was Eddie King's sac bunt, as Brodsky checks over on first. Carpellotti back in time.
That's just the mentality this team has adopted since they took BP for the first time together, practiced for the first time together in the preseason. The first thing we saw was bunting practice.
2-0 the count to Rubin, who swings in line drive into right field for a base hit. Carpellotti to second, Rubin to first. He comes into the game late, no problem. Justin Rubin on the board with a single.
Rubin's fantastic summer from the plate continues. Went 0 for 4 in his last game with a couple strikeouts in the Sunday loss to YD on the road. But then, all of a sudden, 18 hits and 50 at-bats. He has been a midseason revelation.
And that's another thing, Ian. Rubin hasn't played in 5 days before today. Fenwick Trimble, the batter. 2 on, 2 out, top 9. Orleans up 8-7. First pitch from Brodsky is a fly ball into center. Holt, first step back, makes the catch. Orleans puts 2 up when they really needed it in the top of the 9th to take the lead. 8-7 as we go to the bottom of the 9th. Can Sean Matson close this one out? You'll have to tune in and wait to listen. Bottom 9, 8-7 Orleans on the Birds Broadcast Network. This game goes back and forth, back and forth. We go to the bottom of the 9th. Orleans protecting an 8-7 lead. They put up 2 runs in the top of the 9th to take the lead, and they bring on their most trusted, their best, maybe the best reliever in the league, Sean Matson, to close this one out.
As you said to me on Wednesday, maybe, Dylan, he is the best in the league. 0.00 ERA. And 18 innings pitched, a remarkable 21-2 strikeout to walk ratio. Hadn't pitched in a while before his outing on Wednesday, and he made it look easy in a game where he had a lot of run support. Now he's in a tight spot. Can he deliver once more?
Matson faces 2-3-4 in this Chatham order as the Firebirds look to close out game number 1. He'll face Derek Fabian, Brennan Holt, and Gavin Mez. First pitch to Fabian is a strike from Matson, who on Wednesday against Falmouth, 1 inning, 1 hit allowed, and 1 strikeout. The 0-1 to Fabian on the ground to third, but foul. Colin Tuft, who came into the game as a pinch runner for Micheletti, is in left field. Center is King still, and in right is Fenwick Trimble. The infield stays the same with Penny at short and Rubin at third. 0-2 the count to Fabian. Swing, and did he get a piece? Yes, he did. Carpellani thinks he did not. He tags Fabian. The call was a foul ball. Now Kelly Nicholson's coming out. Ian, I don't think Fabian was close to touching that ball. I think Carpellani just flat out missed it.
I would agree. But again, who has the best view? Carpellani and the home plate umpire.
Nicholson backpedals back to the dugout. Count stays 0-2 after the foul ball. Nobody out, nobody on. 8-7 Birds, bottom 9. Matson kicks and deals. Fabian ground ball, third base side foul.
This is the out that Orleans needs to get. Fabian hitting .333 in his last week. He has been Chatham's best player over the last 2 weeks. A 4-star. You get the out to set the tone in this inning. I think that's the toughest test you face if you're Sean Matson.
Matson pitching from the stretch even though nobody's on. Do the 0-2 again, high and outside with the fastball at 89 miles per hour. Matson's fastball has been confusing hitters all summer long. The 1-2 to Fabian. Cold strike 3. A slider on the outside corner for strikeout number 1 and out number 1 here in the 9th.
To be perfectly honest, Matson catches a break. Fabian was frustrated with that strike 3 call, and somewhat deservingly so. Nevertheless, you get ahead in the count. Good things happen.
Brennan Holt, the left-handed batter. 1 out, bottom 9, Birds up 1. Holt swinging first pitch, pop up behind the plate near the dugout. Carpellani reaching for it, and it pops out of his glove. He was right near the start of the dugout where the Bat Kids stand. Now the Bat Kids are in out-of-bounds territory near the fence. So if Carpellani caught the ball in that box structure that's drawn by chalk, it would not be an out. It would just be a foul ball. So Carpellani had to toe the line to make the play.
And now all of a sudden the Bat Boys are cleaning up a little bit over there, just in case Carpellani or any of the other catchers make their way.
0-1 is high and outside. To Holt, the left-handed hitter. Came into this game, of course, after the resumption. He's 0 for 2 on the day with a strikeout. Matson working quickly. 1-1 fastball high and outside. A game that the Firebirds would love to have. 2-1, pop up into center. In comes King, still running forward. He dives. Did he make the catch? He didn't. Holt will go to second. The throw is not in time. Chatham is threatening after Eddie King did not get a good read on a shallow blooper to center. And even with King's speed, he couldn't make the catch. Chatham has a runner in scoring position with 1 out.
With 385 in dead center, that ball dropped at 236 feet. Had it in the glove. His great speed allowed him to make a play on it, but he couldn't come up with the ball.
So up comes Gavin Mez, the left-handed hitter. On second is the runner, Holt. Mez takes high and inside for a ball. Crowd filling up. The 1-0 in for a strike. The fastball at 90 miles per hour from Matson.
Whenever Sean Matson comes in the game, that's when you know it's legit. Didn't feel like it was the 9th inning until he stepped on the mound.
Of a weird, wacky game that started just 90 minutes ago. 1-1, foul ball back to the backstop on a check swing from Mez. He was 0 for 2 with 2 ground outs. 1 to second and 1 back to the mound. Grayson Carter with 4 2/3 innings of work. The 1-2, swing and a miss. Matson gets out number 2 on his second strikeout, and the Birds are 1 out away.
That's Sean Matson. He's going to continue to pound the zone, trust in his stuff, work quickly, and get strikeouts, even with a runner on second. Unflappable and out away.
Tyler Wolfert is the man that stands between Chatham keeping this game going and Orleans collecting a win. Strike one on a swinging strike through the slider. 2 outs. Runner on second is Holt after he doubled with 1 out. Matson's 0-1 is outside. Matson has been the closer for the Firebirds ever since after the first week of the season, where Chris Clark, his Harvard teammate, was the closer, and he was the setup man. 4 saves on the year. Looking for number 5. The 1-1 is low. 2-1 to Wolfert, who's 0 for 2. Hit it hard in the 7th, but right at Jake Casey in right field. 2-1 with 2 outs. Fastball in for a strike.
Again on the outside corner. That's where Matson's been painting it. And he's getting the call.
2-2. 2 outs. The Firebirds are 1 out away. Matson kicks and deals a chopper, third base side foul. Olfert was early on it and just got a piece. This is a Firebirds pitching staff that is as rested as can be. And just finishing this game with 2 pitchers would be huge.
Meanwhile, Chatham played yesterday.
And the loss took it to it. Matson comes set. Do the 2-2 again. Foul ball at the plate. The tying run is at second in Holt. The batter, Wolfert, is not proving to be an easy out. 2 down, 2 to the count. Matson deals. Strike 3. Sean Matson strikes out the side. Another save for the righty out of Harvard. Save number 5. And the Birds win 8-7 here in Chatham.
A weird game. Ultimately, Orleans extends its win streak to 3 and picks up win number 20 on the summer for a group that had its ups and downs, arguably had its low point here from Veterans Field. In the middle of June, I think we alluded to it earlier in the broadcast, 1 hit through 9 innings and a 2-0 shutout. It's a completely different Firebirds team. Not necessarily the roster. I mean, you look at the position players, they're arguably the same group of key guys. But in terms of how this team is playing for each other, and doing just big things in big moments, doing the little things well, too. We're going to try to get Eddie King on for an interview here as we begin cooling down. And that sack bunt that he laid down in the 8th inning, Dylan, it proved to be critical.
It proved to be huge because you tied the game, but then you were looking to extend and get a run and get some insurance so you can finish off the game in the bottom of the 9th. Eddie King moved the runners from first to second and third. And he's been clutch all season. That's his first sack bunt of the season for the Firebirds. And he did it because this team practices bunting and moving runners over on a consistent basis.
Kelly Nicholson wants to teach these guys how to play the game the right way. He understands how important a tool such as bunting can be moving forward. So give these guys a lot of credit. Somebody like Eddie King, who's had the week he's had, he was the one who happened to be in that situation and needed to lay down a bunt.
And he did. A good win for the Firebirds. That moves them. Well, we have to go back to the other game because at the time it would make them a different record. But the Firebirds collect win, and it's a big one, win number 20 on the season here in Game 1 against Chatham. 8-7 the final. Before we get to Eddie King, he's going to have to celebrate with his teammates and get the whole news for Game 2 because we have another game to go, and it's a full 9-inning game. It's not 7. Now, we'll have to get clarification if we're starting at 6:30, 6:45, or 7. So tune into our social medias at that. We'll also try to get some information here. But it'll be Orleans and Chatham one more time in the next 45, hour and 15 minutes. And if we're going to sum up the last, 5 1/3 innings that we watched today, Grayson Carter was huge for this team.
He was. He's now made 3 starts for this Firebirds crew, and they've looked good. I know this wasn't necessarily a start in the stat sheet, right? It doesn't go down as 1. It goes down as 4 2/3 innings pitched out of a bullpen in the stat sheet because this game started on the 5th. But in all reality, this was a start for Grayson Carter, and he showed up. Pounds his own, has a good mindset, gets a lot of strikeouts, and has an untouchable fastball. So I'd like to see where Grayson Carter's role with this team moves moving forward. Firebirds don't really have any of their starting pitchers left from the start of the season. Evan Truitt's still on this team. He's pitched a lot. Pitched a lot at Charleston Southern. He's pitched a lot here. What will his role look like as the season goes on? What will Grayson Carter's role look like? Because he's continuing to gain the trust of Kelly Nicholson, who let him go more than just 3 1/3, which was his previous season high.
Today he went 4 1/3. Overall, he went 4 2/3.
Yeah.
Going back. But Ian, I think it was so big. They went Carter, they went to Matson after they got the lead, and now the Firebirds have almost everyone except Matson in the bullpen ready to go.
And somebody who's ready to go, walking over to our broadcast setup here from Veterans Field, is Eddie King, the Louisville outfielder. But just to touch on that quickly, Sean Matson ready to go, and a bullpen that is set to go for Game 2. But before we get to Game 2, we got one of the stars from Game 1, Eddie King. It's been a great week for you as you join us on Cooling Down, and another good result in a kind of a weird game today, right, Eddie?
Yeah, a little weird.
How did you guys walk into this game? Did you just walk into it thinking it was a 0-0 game with 5 innings of baseball to play, or what was the mindset?
Yeah, walking into it, it was a tie game, so basically 0-0. Just have to play a good 5-inning game. So that's just how we came in.
You came up in a big spot in the 8th inning. I know you hit the home run back on the 5th, but today you laid down a big bunt in a big spot. What does it say about, I guess, you in that situation and know what you needed to do for this team, but also why is this the mindset of this team overall, just to be unselfish like that?
Just sacrificing for your teammates is a big thing. When it comes in a close game, sacrificing for your teammates is really huge. Just laying it down for your teammates to let the next guy do the job. You have confidence in him getting it done. It's just a big part.
When you do that and then you see your team take the lead, how do you feel?
I feel great. It feels like I actually helped my teammates out a little bit.
And how does it feel over the last few days? You've been more than helping out your teammates. You've had your best stretch of the summer. What do you think you've unlocked over this last week?
Just being more aggressive, being more focused, knowing I could make things happen, knowing I can do it, just knowing I can compete at this level. Just really big for me.
This might be a silly question, but you hit the home run on the 5th. You've had a couple home runs over the last week. Do you have a favorite home run of the season so far that you hit with the Firebirds? Now that this one officially counts?
Probably the one I hit off my teammate.
That's true. Oh, that hurts.
Yeah.
And Louisville Baseball posted it on Twitter so everybody knew.
Yep.
And now he's going to have to attack you in fall ball, I guess. So in Game 2, how important is it going to be to pick up a big win against Chatham, a division rival, and try to stay not only at number 2 in this division, but maybe even get a little closer to number 1?
Yeah, it's huge. Just getting closer to number 1 as close as possible is just really big for us. So we have to, we want to win this, so we got to make it happen.
And also, I talked to Jay Casey before the game, told me a little bit about this golf open. How's your golf game? How was this golf yesterday?
I'm not too good at golf. I'm not too good. That's not my thing.
Is that your thing? Well,
I'm okay. I'm okay at mini golf though.
Okay, who's the crew? Who's with your team? Because I know his team's of 4, right?
Yes, me, Drew Farrow, Fenwick, and Henry Hunter.
Who's the best out of that 4?
Drew had the best day.
All right. Well, you had a great day. This team had a great day, but it's not done. Game 2 of a doubleheader starts very soon. Eddie King Jr., thanks so much for joining us on Cooling Down.
I appreciate it.
Welcome Dylan back into the booth. Eddie with another important day, a big bunt, a big home run that finally counts, even though his favorite home run of the summer is still the one that he hit off his Louisville teammate just a few days ago. That's a pretty sweet feeling that he has, but he's got to feel pretty good after a day like this.
Got to feel great, and it seems like Eddie King Jr. loves to play here. We talked about Fenwick Trimble loving to play at Falmouth. Eddie King Jr. loves to play at Chatham, and he's got another game, of course, coming up soon. It's going to be officially starting at 7 p.m., so we're not going to do the 30-minute rule. We're going to do 7 p.m. first pitch between Chatham and Orleans right here at Veterans Field. And before we go, we got to pay some bills.
We have to pay the bills.
We got to pay the bills with Mazzio Construction, of course. 8-7, the final between Orleans and Chatham. Tune in. Different link on YouTube. Different link. Same YouTube channel. Game 2 of a doubleheader at 7 p.m. first pitch. Ian, wrap us up.
Of course. First of all, like and subscribe. Put those post notifications on here on YouTube. And also like and subscribe to Mazzio Construction LLC, who's worked hard to build a resume for itself. Let them put their knowledge, experience, and passion together to work for you. Their team is committed to exceed your expectations. New home, addition to existing home, renovation, they handle it all. They work close with their clients to make sure that all their needs are met. They're honest, on time with schedule, and passionate about what they do. Give them a call. Let them introduce you to their work. Let's see how they can help you. Mazzio Construction LLC, the official post-game sponsor of Cooling Down here on the Birds Broadcast Network.
Final score, 8-7. Birds take it over Chatham in a wacky one that finished 23 days later after it started. 7 p.m. first pitch of Game 2. Tune in.